the Empress. This is the meditation from Tarot of the Spirit. Will you come next, sun? Come through my leafy door. Come to cast your precious, silky silver rays across the grove of new and sacred cypress and leafy wreathlets strung with strands of glistening pearls, web of dew, furry creatures cold and wet, cooing in the fields where the gold and cobalt lapis ether night sky so recently laid upon me with all his jewels, ruby, diamond, aqua, glistening down like so many wonders, caressing, holding every drape and fold of my smoky emerald gown while I gave birth to all that was, is, and ever shall be, things of beauty, tenderness. Pelican and eagle, first to come, guarded the entrance of cave, womb, home, gentle, delicate hens. Pelican gave blood to swallow, eagle feathered the hollow. Now, come, sun, merry meet through the channel as well. Dawn and dry the borning seas, cast your healing morning rays across the dewy wings of pelican eagle, downy damp pelts of the tiny beasts, unfolding lily and rose, and together we shall thrive in peace. Come, sun, merry meet and part in mirth. Come to heart and illuminate this birth. That is really a string of key words relating to the Empress and everything the Empress stands for. Most especially about the Empress, what attracts me is the Empress, and in her Hebrew manifestation, the Hebrew symbol on the Empress is called Dalet, spelled D-A-L-E-T-H, and it means door. The Empress is the door. She is the door that opens and emits into the manifest universe everything in existence. That's the path of the Empress. The astrology for the Empress is Venus, love. Whatever gets emitted is going to come from whatever is united in this amazing cosmological process that keeps giving birth to everything in the universe. So the astrology is Venus, love, which we talked about in the priestess as well, igniting the love and what happens when that love is ignited and then what comes forth out of it. The intelligence of the priestess is called luminous, the luminous intelligence, and that is because what happens is whatever we are attracted to becomes illuminated and then turns into something else and then is born into the universe. And the entire universe, for those who have eyes to see, as they say, is a luminous sea of awakening. It's all illuminated. Everything is illuminated for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Her divinatory meaning in the Tarot of the Spirit is, you are opening to all sensuality, revel in the delights of the senses. A great beauty is revealed. All is perfection. All is receptive. The things of earth are voluptuously welcoming at this time. You are moving with the flow. Earth is your dominion. All things of nature respond perfectly to you. You find comfort among birds, beasts, and fellow and sister travelers. There is no need to control. The key at this time to remember is to remember that imagination is everything. Imagination is everything. If you can imagine it, it's as real as it gets. And what we discover is that in the imagination, scientists, for example, discover that if they can imagine a hypothesis, it's most likely true. Their hypothesis is most likely true. More often than not. It's not 50-50 true or false. It's most likely true. The Empress is the 3, the power of 3. We've talked about the meaning of 0, 1, 2, and 3. So 0 is all the potential. The 1 is where that potential gets manifest in a singular, original, individual being or something, some kind of thing. The 2 is where that being experiences attraction, and the 3 is the third energy that arises out of that attraction. So when you put the artist together with the crayons or something like that, what arises out of that is the energy of the Empress, creating the universe. The 3, she is the 3. She is the power of creation. And that creation, the power of creation, is generated by imagination. It exists on the plane of imagination, and then it is generated in the field of the cosmos, the living field of the cosmos. All of this is about cosmic attunement and intuition and then activation. All of the 3s of the tarot are about birthing, bringing forth and birthing. All of them are about the power of creation, creativity and creation. So the same is true with the 1s and the 2s, that they're going to align with the 1, 2, or 3 in the major arcana. So all of the 1s in the tarot, the 4 1s, 1 of fire, water, air, wind, and earth, those are going to align with the magus in some way. All the 2s are going to align with the priestess, and all of the 3s are going to align with the Empress, because what we've got going there is we have, number 1 is the power of origination. So it's originality, it's original being originating. And it's the power of the unique origination. That's the number 1. So all of the 1s in the tarot are going to relate to that in some way. The 2s are all about the power of attraction. So they are all going to relate to the priestess in some way, and they're all going to be about bringing something together into alignment so that the potential for giving birth is there, and it's going to happen, right? So the 2s are all about the power of attraction if you look at all the 4 2s. Then if you look at the 4 3s in the tarot, they're all about, I'm talking about the 3 of fire, 3 of water, 3 of wind, 3 of earth. Those are all about creation that moves out of first the 1, spotting the 2, so to speak, and then moving into the power of the 3. So that's how it works. So this is key 3. And the key 3 is about bringing forth. So what we have really is we have a 1 plus a 1, which make 2, and then they bring forth the 3. And it's said, that everything in the universe is also living and creating. So I wanted to make an argument right now for those crayons also being alive and being attracted to the artist and wanting to jump in the artist's hands. The crayons have something to do with it. If they don't want to write, they won't. Anyway, okay. So it's all about these things moving together with the power of attraction. The 1s being the unique originator, a special original being. 0 being the field from which all the 1s emerge, and the field in which everything happens. So we have the 0, Then we have the 1, we have the 2, and we have the 3. The 1 contained in the many, the 1 being the luminosity of the universe, then contained in all of the infinite ones that arise, then they're all the luminous ones, and then they enter into the power of creation through the power of attraction, all of it being, for those who have eyes to see, luminous energy. For the Empress, 3 is about creating the many forms of the universe, all of which contain this cosmic luminosity, and then this cosmic luminosity is released into the universe. So again, I would like to go back into visionary cosmology and look at the power of 3 from a scientific point of view. So this power of 3 is contained in the Empress energy, and all of the 4 3s in the fire, water, wind, and earth, all relating back to and connecting to the 3rd power of creation. Okay, so now I'm looking at visionary cosmology and looking at what is this 3rd power, creation. And for this 3rd power of creation, I use this term. Okay, no, I want to back up a little bit. There's this mystery. I just want to talk about, just for a second, try not to go too far afield, but I just said this thing about the crayons wanting, what did I say? The crayons wanting to write. Okay, that was a little strange. The crayons, for most people in this world, would be considered to be abiotic. And abiotic means they're not alive. Humans would be considered to be biotic. That means they're alive. So for biologists, the whole world is divided into things that are biotic and abiotic. Either it's alive or it's not. And in order to be alive, you have to meet certain requirements. You have to be able to, you have to eat, you have to poop, you have to be able to move about. You have to have metabolism of some kind. I mean, there's a bunch of things that identify for biologists what is living and what is not living. The deeper we get into it, the more the line between living and non-living begins to disappear. And here we get into this deep shamanic reality where everything becomes alive, including the crayons. I mean, and after all, they're made of living atoms, aren't they? Aren't they made of living molecules, which are continually giving birth inside each atom? Because now we know with quantum physics that atoms, every single atom is unique. That just is mind-blowing the more you think about it, because the further we can see into the atom with quantum physics and see the quanta, which are the particles inside atoms, the more we know, the more particles we do see inside the atoms. And inside each atom, we see that the particles, which are charged positive and negative, are continually giving birth to new particles. And so each atom is in and of itself a universe. So does that make the crayons alive? And the more you think about it, the more difficult it is to sort out. The Empress is in charge of all form in the universe. I would say the biotic and the abiotic. So I just want to make that a little bit more clear, even though it's fuzzy, that when I think of creation in the universe, I'm thinking of this in a really big way. To whom do the rivers and the stones speak? As Vivekananda asked, to the one who is awakened. Okay, how about awakened to the luminosity of the universe? Illuminated, alive, awake, aware. Do you guys remember Emoto? Emoto was the person who did all the experiments with water. Yeah, he's no longer on the planet. Anyway, he did mental experiments with water, blessing the water or saying to the water, he had water that had broken, water's like, he took water to the almost freezing point, so it turned into snowflakes, right? Mm-hmm. And there were really damaged sort of snowflakes in that water, damaged constructions of the water. And then he said, water, you are good, water, you are whole, water, you are healed. And then the water magically returned to whole form. Remember all those? Okay, Emoto was on the track, the idea that the universe is alive, and he was working with those energies, and he made a lot of headway in what he was doing, because he decided not to look at that as abiotic. As he said, I'm going to look at water as biotic. And he essentially came up with this question: does water think? I mean, does water feel? Is water feeling that energy that we're putting out to it? Okay. We don't know really how this happens, or if it happens, or whatever. People are trying to replicate his experiments, but when we talk about enlightenment and the luminous universe, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about moving into a universe that is filled with energies and potentials that are continually giving birth and are all alight and fabulously moving and creating. So I use the word erotomorphism, made up word, to represent the concept that the universe is alive and that it feels, and that the universe and everything in it and of it changes because it has a desire to change. And this goes back to the law of attraction, where everything in the universe is inherently charged with the power of attraction. Inherently. You could call it a desire to change. The magnets feel it. They know what they're doing. And conversely, necromorphism, necro means death. Necromorphism is the concept of the universe as a random set of non-living or dead processes and products. This worldview, which most people have, maintains that change occurs in space, for example, as a result of random collisions and explosions. Humans in industrial society relate to the universe primarily as necromorphic, as if it were composed of dead stuff to be used and consumed by humans. We may, in fact, be projecting the idea of a dead world onto a world that is in actuality inherently alive. So I put that out there with the Empress for your consideration. Venus. Venus is the astrological symbol associated with the Empress. This property of desire, if you want to call it that, love, permeates the whole universe. As I just described in this in the book, Visionary Cosmology, it accounts for the formation of the universe and everything in it. The development and evolution of our planet and ourselves. The chain goes like this. Atoms form molecules. Molecules form larger units. A substance is made of the same kind of atoms packed together. A substance made of the same kind of atoms packed together is called an element. A substance made of 2 or more atoms is called a compound. You don't need to remember this, but these are the building blocks, right? Hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon atoms, for example, create a compound called sugar, a sugar molecule. And everything in the palpable world is made up of molecules. All of these molecules have an electromagnetic charge. For atoms to bond into molecules, electrons have to alter their orbit. The electrons have to jump out of their orbit to make to bring 2 kinds of atoms together to make a different kind of form. In molecules, 2 or more atoms bind together by sharing electrons. An electron, for example, can jump into a larger orbit which encompasses the nuclei of 2 atoms. To jump into a bigger orbit, the electron needs an infusion of energy, absorbing a photon, which is a bundle of light, or it's called energy. A bundle of energy can give the electron the power it needs to make a leap. So here's another piece of the Empress. The electron needs to absorb a photons, to make a leap into a larger orbit. Okay, what are photons? What are they essentially? Do you guys know what photons are?
Light.
They're light.
Yes, light.
And do you know we are made of atoms. Each of our bodies has more atoms than the grains of sand on all the beaches of the whole planet Earth. Inside of these molecules that make up our bodies are photons. So we can also say, and everything's made out of atoms, remember, we can also say that we are luminous beings. We are made out of light. Literally, physically, we are made of light. We are light beings, and so is everything in the universe, made of atoms that are composed of energy powered by light. Okay, so what does the Empress have to do with this, The Empress has everything to do with human creativity. Okay, so now let's go into human creativity. We are made out of the energies and elements which have been combining and recombining in various sequences and structures for billions of years. That's what we are made out of. Continuing to concentrate itself into various high energy centers of cosmological design. This is cosmological storytelling. The universe, as Earth, generated a stunning sequence of events 3.5 billion years ago. The first living cells emerged. 600 million years ago, multicellular organisms evolved. 200 million years ago, mammals appeared. 4 million years ago, 2-legged hominids emerged. 12,000 years ago, humans began to domesticate plants and animals. 5,000 years ago, people converged in cities. And what is more, we, humans, emerged with the capability of becoming aware of the universal process of creation itself. That is to say that universal form, which began to develop as elementary particles and light, evolved into an organism, human organism, with the spirit, heart, mind, and body to witness and reflect upon the nature of the process of its own cosmological becoming. We are a universe reflecting on its own process, its own becoming, and its own future. Its own past, its own present, its own future. And out of that, we dream the future and we create the future. That is the energy of the Empress coming into the power of her creativity. The Empress, the position on the tree of life of the Empress is, she is the bottom triad of the upper supernal triangle. She's the connecting path across the bottom between the divine masculine or sacred masculine energy of the universe and the divine feminine. It's also the number 2 and the number 3. She connects the number 2 and the number 3. So that is her position on the tree of life. So she connects emitting energy with receiving energy, and that is considered to be all pairs of opposites. Like all pairs of opposites, all pairs of complementary and supplementary forces on both sides of the tree connect through that path, that horizontal path of the Empress. She's one of the 3 what are called girders on the tree of life. Girder is like the crossbar. So the Empress goes across and holds the tree in place horizontally. The path of strength is the next one down between the 4 and the 5 that holds the tree in place. And then the last one is the tower between the 7 and the 8 that holds the tree in place. Those are called the 3 girders of the tree of life. So they stabilize the whole tree by holding it in place horizontally. And they also connect both sides, ensuring that all pairs of opposites are always connected, that they are continually connected. She also lives in the supernal triangle, or the cosmological triangle, which is composed of the ones, all the ones, or the 1, all the 2s, or the 2, all the 3s, or the 3, 1, 2, and 3, plus the Fool and the Magus, the paths of the Fool and the Magus. Then there's the Empress. She's the crossbar. And the Priestess is crossing the path of the Empress vertically, right in the middle of the path of the Empress. Okay, so we'll come back to the Priestess. But this is a supernal triangle, and out of the whole supernal triangle, or the cosmological triangle, all creation flows. That's the idea of the Empress. All creation flows out of this triangle. The esoteric name of the Priestess is Daughter of the Mighty Ones. Daughter of the Mighty Ones. And Daughter of the Mighty Ones means that she's the daughter of all the powers of the universe, but she's also going to be the mother of the universe and everything that happens. Okay, so she is also called, so she's called Daughter of the Mighty Ones, but she is also called Grandmother. She's called the feminine aspect of God. She's called the luminous sea of shining milk, which is the Milky Way. She's called Mother Nature, the Great Mother of ideas, pure fruition, the goddess of love, the goddess of desire, the mother of the gods, the mother of light. She's called the bright, fertile mother, the gateway to form, the guardian of the threshold of earth, the life bearer, and the door. All of those are her names. On the path of the Empress, the door opens and all of life flies into manifestation, also out of manifestation. Into and out of manifestation. In order to come into manifestation, life has to fly across the abyss, okay? So this is another way of looking at the tree of life. That supernal triangle or cosmological triangle at the top that I've been talking about, one way of looking at the tree of life is to say that's not on the plane of manifestation, but it's beyond the plane of manifestation. And in that cosmological triangle, the blueprint for all creation is born. But then it has to manifest somehow. So in order to manifest, this is like proof by cartoon. I call it sometimes proof by cartoon. In order for it to manifest, it has to cross the abyss. And the abyss is like a separation between worlds or between dimensions. So it has to make it across the abyss. So the Empress is the creator. It's said also the Empress is the creator of ideas or also of blueprints that can then manifest. So if you were looking to create a blueprint for your whatever it is you're creating, you can go to the Empress energy to come up with the design, the power of the design. You can go to the Priestess to affirm your path, and then you can go to the Empress to create the design. In the Empress, the design will be created and it will be birthed into form, and you'll be sending something out that's going to cross the abyss into manifestation. So that's the energy of the path of the Empress. On this path of the Empress, that door flies open. So I do want to say also this, on the path of the Empress crisscrosses at the top with the path of the High Priestess. And you can see that the path of the High Priestess crosses over the abyss. And so the High Priestess can also carry the energies from the Empress straight into the plane of manifestation. Of course, she could fall into the abyss, the priestess, and lose the energy somewhere there, lose the idea. But it could also get carried across if there's enough desire, if there's enough wanting for that to happen, it can move into manifestation. Interesting about the Empress, the word idea. Does anybody know what idea means? I love it. Idea. What does Dea mean? D-E-A.
God.
Yeah, it means God or goddess because it's the feminine, Dea, right? Okay, I, which is the prefix, means indwelling. Okay, so an idea is the indwelling goddess within us. So when you get an idea, that's your God self or your goddess self speaking to you, that dwells inside you. And then if it's strong enough, you can bring it to the plane of manifestation. But one of the problems is, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the Emperor, that the Empress comes up with many more ideas than is possible to actually manifest and take care of and bring into not just fruition, but maturity. Fruition. It's too much to take care of it all sometimes. So some things are lost. They're lost because they can't be taken care of. And so when we talk about the Emperor, we'll talk a lot more about that, about how to preserve the thing that you want the most. So again, in a sense, it goes back to that feeling of desire and love, because it's the things you love the most that's where you're going to put your energy. That's where you're going to make sure that this little being survives, whatever it is, whatever your dream is. So this door, this crisscrossing place with the priestess, where this door is, becomes really powerful. And the meaning of I am the door, I am the way, becomes clear as we begin to contemplate the Empress, because all of us are the door, all of us are the way, all of us are the opening, all of us are the path. And what is going to hold that path in place is going to be Venus, which is the power of love and the power of desire. And that is the strongest way of getting something through and something into manifestation. So if we look at the card of the Empress, and just looking at this card, so what jumps out at you, or what do you see in this card? Anything when you look at the Empress? Oh, the headdress, right. Oh, the headdress. Okay, this headdress is composed of calla lilies, which that represents fruition on the material plane. And the okay, hold on one second. I have to pull out the tarot card of the Empress. This is going to take me just 1 second. I know you guys have... Oh, here's the Wendy's card. All right, I'll take this one. Okay. When we look at the card of the Empress, we see that on her headdress is also an eagle. Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay, so there's an eagle on her headdress, and the eagle represents clear sight, strong sight, the most powerful sight. The eagle is the one who flies closest to the sun, they say. The big wings and the clear, very powerful sight. So that's also part of her headdress, is that eagle energy. Yeah. Okay, so she's got the clear sight. She's close to the sun, and that eagle is going to go between worlds. Okay, what else do you see on the Empress?
Well, she has the dove.
Dove, yeah.
Dove. Okay, so on one hand, she had her right hand, because I'm backing into the tree here. In her right hand, a dove is a lighting, right? Okay, so what's the symbolism of the dove?
Peace.
Peace. And also, the dove is a messenger from the other world. The dove is a messenger from beyond. So the dove is always going to be bringing the messages. And then in her other hand, in her left hand, she's holding, and it is an ankh. It's an ankh. It's called crux ansata. It's also a Venus symbol, but it's an ancient symbol which combines the four directions, which is the cross for the four directions, and that has to do with manifestation, fire, water, air, and earth, spinning all those things together to create a world. And then the circle on the top, that's the circle of creation, all potential, but also, did you know that the Ankh and Venus also represents the womb, the female womb, and the cross is like the doorway into the womb, and then there's the womb. So that she's holding the womb of creation. So that's also part of the Empress symbolism. Anything else that you notice on the...
Well, she's sitting on the Akashic records.
Okay, yes. Okay, so you see the scroll? She's sitting on the scroll. Okay, she's also sitting on an altar, and the scroll is on top of the altar. And the altar is a cube, and it is... the cube is made, it's a six-sided cube, and it unfolds into the number 6 in the center of the tree of life. If you think of how you could make a cube flat, so it unfolds into the center of the tree of life. But she's sitting on top of that cube, which you can't see right now, but her Akashic scroll goes over the top of the cube. But if you look at the major arcana, you're going to see that a lot of them are sitting on top of the cube. In the picture of the devil, there's only half a cube there. So when we talk about the devil, we'll talk about that much later. Something's missing in the perception in that particular card. Okay, so it doesn't have it doesn't have all the full operating principles in place. Okay, what else do you see? Oh, Akashic records. Okay, well, let's pause there for a second and say, okay, well, what are the Akashic records? She's sitting on the what are the Akashic records? Anybody?
Information.
It's like the
Moving everything that is, was, or will be.
Yeah, all the knowledge of all that has been, all that is, and all that ever shall be. And we see the priestess holding the scroll. Also, if you look at the pattern, the actual pattern on the scroll, and you look at the rest of the cards in Tarot of the Spirit, you will see this pattern that's on the scroll appearing in different places. Also, backing up to the High Priestess, if you look at the pattern on the High Priestess card and you look at the colors on the High Priestess card, you will also see the pattern in the colors of the High Priestess card appearing throughout the Tarot. For example, when you look at the Chariot, you are going to actually see the energy and color and face of the priestess with the veil as the chariot driver. So if you start looking at the colors and the repetition of the patterns, where the patterns reappear is going to be really important. Like the pattern on that scroll, the colors, it's gray and white speckled, right? So wherever you see that, it's going to signify the Akashic records. Yeah.
She's standing on a crescent moon that's also part of the... It doesn't even look like a stream. It looks more like a river.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. So she's got her bare feet on the corners of the moon, right? And the stream of consciousness is pouring out. Okay, so the moon energy is what is stable and what is changing and what is going to change. So it's what is abiding, what is transient. And I want to tell you something very special about that moon energy that she has her feet on. And that is actually two sides of a treadle sewing machine. Do you know what a treadle sewing machine is?
Yes.
Okay, so a treadle, you don't have to plug it in. It is a mechanical sewing machine, and you operate it by pushing one side then the other, one side then the other, backwards and forwards actually. And so this, I'm going to tell you, is my grandmother's treadle sewing machine that the Empress is working, that we all grew up with. And what she is doing is she is basically sewing a universe into existence. It's the power of her creation. So she's a seamstress.
Huh.
She's also a seamstress. Yeah. Anything else you notice on the card? Anything else leap out?
Well, it's the color of the green.
The green. Oh, so everything is now turned green. It's like green and growing. This is the Empress on Earth with her green, growing forms, bringing everything into manifestation. And she's got the roses all around her. And that's the flower, the beauty of the flowers blooming. Also, the glyph for Venus is on the card. The symbol for Dalit, the door, is on the card. And then another thing that's on the card is that she's pregnant. Okay, so this shows her ready to give birth, or just continually giving birth to everything in the universe. Giving birth through what she's sewing up, and bringing together.
She also has two triangles, one at her heart and one behind her. I don't know if they're the supernal triangles or whatever, but isn't there one at her heart?
There is. There's a triangle at her heart that is pointed upward. And whenever you have these the triangles are also symbolic of the three. In fact, there's a big triangle, and then there are three small triangles right underneath it, pointing in different directions. Okay, so when you have two triangles, an upward pointed triangle and a downward pointed triangle, and you bring them together so that they cross, they can form a six-pointed star, and that six-pointed star is considered to be the balance of everything in the universe, because the downward pointed triangle represents the feminine receiving force, the upward pointed triangle, male emitting force. Bring them together in perfect balance. But if you keep moving them, you keep going, you wind up with a diamond. And the diamond is considered, well, it permeates the whole Tarot of the Spirit. And we call that symbol the diamond sun. It's not on this particular card, but it's on a lot of the cards. And the diamond sun represents a higher state of consciousness. So you will see that throughout the cards. You're going to see the diamond sun permeating consciousness and creating a higher state of consciousness. She's also got a hole in her throat that is representing the throat chakra and her ability to communicate and bring forth. Her hair is yellow, her undergarment is yellow, and that yellow represents sphere number 6, enlightened consciousness. So all of the colors, are important. All the colors that you see on all the cards are very important. And the red of the roses and the red that you see, she's also got red inside her cape down here, and this red color represents her power. It's like the red is the Mars energy, and that's her power to move things and get it going, her force. And the red roses are too, they're about passion, they're about passion, they're about power. So those are some of the things on the for the symbology of the card. Anything else anybody notices? Anything else? Yeah, the pillars have turned into green growing forms. They're like swirling cypress trees. Lots of spiraling energy. You have the feeling of spiraling energy, and lots of messages coming through to move that. Okay, that's probably good enough for the card symbology right now. If we do the overlay of the tree of life on the card, we see, interestingly, that her head, the head of the Empress, is in the abyss, right in the middle, in the doorway of knowledge at the secret 11th sphere. So is the face of the priestess, which is very interesting. So they're both in that energy. They're both really related in that energy. In this case, the Akashic scroll, her Akashic scroll, on either end of that Akashic scroll, there's a spiral. It's like the spiraling energy. One of the spirals appears in sphere number 7, Netzach. The other one appears in sphere number 8, Hod. And what that energy is between those two is Netzach, which is number 7, is the sphere of the vision quest and the seeking, the not knowing, but the seeking. And then the 8, Hod, is the place where we find and name the results. So it's a continuous path of searching for something, finding it, naming it, and understanding it. And so this is the definition in terms of this the Empress card. This is the definition of what the Akashic records are all about. It's like the seeking, the finding, and the naming. See if anything else leaps out. The desire, which is the cross of Venus, the Crux Ansata it's called, finds itself directly in sphere number 2, which is the power of attraction. And the dove is just moving out of sphere number 3, which is the power of creation and birthing. So there it goes, and it's getting ready to fly down into manifestation. So it's very interesting when you overlay the tree of life onto the cards and see what leaps out that way as well. It's a great teacher. Okay, let's see what else I've got for the Empress here. We're coming to the end on the Empress. Her meditation colors are emerald green, sky blue, early spring green, and pale green. And by the way, all of these cards also have musical notes associated with them. The musical note associated with the Empress, that's the only one I'm going to mention right now, it happens to be F sharp. So if you are listening to the F sharp like on a pitch pipe or something like that, and then meditating on these colors, the emerald green, sky blue, early spring green, pale green, it sets off the Empress consciousness within you, which is a creative consciousness, or that is how it has been told and passed down from the mystery schools of old. Okay. And now I would like to share with you something out of Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit as we bring this to an end. The mystery, okay, just one moment. On the wrong page. Okay. First, I'm going to read the meditation on the Empress from Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit, and then end with the mystery of the Empress. So I would like to invite you right now just to move into that emerald green energy by closing your eyes and just feel that emerald green energy. Or if you're getting the sky blue or the early spring green or the pale green, just let your entire consciousness be flooded with those beautiful colors and just listen. May I become a channel flowing with the beauty of creation. May the spirit of creation be freed within me. May I open the doorway to all that is. May divine energy permeate my being. May the door of love admit my relations. May I open and close the doorway with love. May divine knowledge flow over the threshold as I guide and protect with love. May my thoughts be informed by conscience and love. May I guard the entry, that I may fully serve with a heart balanced in love, with a mind balanced in conscientious reflection, with a body rested and able. May I treat every doorway as a threshold to the growing soul. May I open to receive the key of the Empress. And here is the mystery of the Empress. Throughout the universe, the archetypal patterns of the One emerge. Herein resides the mystery of the One illumined in the many, and the many illumined in the One. I am the sparkling channel of luminous cosmological creation. I am the sparkling center that illuminates, protects, and nurtures that which I love. I am the luminous sea of creation who imagines, conceives, and shelters cosmological design. I am the door. I am the way. I am the door. I am the way.